So right now, technically speaking, I'm working as a bartender, but I am certified as a sommelier. I'm Andrew Sommelier. I'm 26 years old, born and raised in Queens. I grew up born and raised into food. My parents, both from very different backgrounds. My mother's from Ecuador, my dad's from Thailand, and they owned a bakery growing up. So I grew up basically in food, basically. Honestly, the bakery kind of really did a lot. As a kid, I kind of hated it. Because on my weekends and my days off and like not from school, they would wake me up at like 4 in the morning, go to the bakery, and just fucking sleep on bags of flour. As a kid, I hated it, but looking back on it, it really kind of formed who I am. I realized that I do have a very huge interest in food, and then as time passed by, beverage to go with it. A sommelier is usually somebody who is working in a fine dining restaurant, specializing in the wine list, focusing on pairings, making the list, and also trying to find what works best with the person and the food as well. I started off studying on my own independently when I was working at Trader Joe's as a beer buyer. Eventually it became so much of an interest that I decided to study it professionally. So I went to the International Culinary Center, formerly known as French Culinary Institute. It's actually really intense, actually. Like, people think like, oh, like, you know, you're drinking wine, you're tasting it, it's easy. Like, no, like, you're really taking the wine as you're dissecting it, you're figuring out where it's from, why it's from it, what grapes it's from, why you think it's that grape, what grapes have different characteristics. Like, for right now, I'm studying it through the Code of Master Sommeliers. My dream goal would probably hands down be being able to get pinned as a Master Sommelier. It's a very, very, very tough course. There's only about 220 in the world. Back when I was younger, I went to school for engineering. Not because I enjoyed it or wanted to, it was more of having the immigrant American idea of wanting to go for a career that seems stable, prestigious, and making a really high general salary, and it's just averages. And about halfway through, I hated it, and I told my parents, like, hey, I can't do this, like, I fucking hate this shit. And so a lot of people were like, how did you even like think of this as a career? Which is kind of funny, because like, people were like, really? Like, you didn't grow up with this, this isn't here, like, this is not something you're comfortable with, it's not something like you're like an Italian family or a French family, but you just had it in front of you all the time. It's like, no, like, I'm coming from a Thai family, which my father's side, which is all beer. My mother's from Ecuador, which is also a beer culture. As a sommelier, you should know the wine list, how it goes with different dishes in the menu. You have to keep track of inventory and cellar. You have to actually work the cellar and how to like stock the cellar, separate things, categorize things. Personally, as a good quality wine, I should tell you from tasting it where it's from and what grape it is. Honestly, the biggest thing I have to say is don't be afraid to ask questions. Because honestly, like, wine is a very broad field, and there's so many different regions, different wines, different places and countries that can do different things. And honestly, with certain dishes, like, you can have different wines that will go just as well with each other, or maybe like something more obscure. I would say don't be afraid. Like, the sommeliers who are usually in the restaurants are not there to scare you or offend you or lead you astray. A good sommelier should be able to tell you like what will give you the most bang for your buck and make you enjoy the meal better.